Hi there. Today we have Murray Baxter, who has played in numerous bands. Probably the better known ones are Mechanical Smile, Twin Heart, and Dream Kids, all with his much better half, I may add, Don. And Murray's day job is a lecturer in music and sound production at Ayrshire College. So welcome along, Murray. Thanks very much for coming.
Pleasure, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Murray, what are your influences and how did you get started out in music?
Well, I think my influences have changed over the years. I started out playing drums at school and just found a love for playing drums. And I liked, at that time, I was obsessed with Oasis. And I kind of quickly outgrew them when I started being exposed to alternative music, alternative rock music. Bands like, at the time, this you can way back to early noughties, like Feeder, The Offspring, Blink-182. Bands like that really changed my perspective in music. And I started playing in a band when I was 17, 18. We gigged around Kilmarnock in Glasgow and played the Wickerman's Festival. And then that was quite short-lived. And it took me a few years to get back into it. And by that time, I was listening to a lot of emo, screamo, post-hardcore music. And that merged with sort of my wife being into like kind of more popular music, more kind of lighter grunge music. We started playing and we sort of developed this alternative rock band, Mechanical Smile, and a few years later we started gigging. So yeah, influences have changed over the years. I'm a big emo kid at heart. I love my emotional rock music and I love a bit of heavy distortion behind that as well, pretty much.
Well, what's your early memories of your first kind of gigs?
So the first gigs I played was I played in a wee band called Malaise with some Galston boys and that I met through college at the time, and we played Billet and Bertie's. It felt like every week we were playing Billet and Bertie's at the time. Loved it in there, and played at the Cat House, 13th Note up in Glasgow. Barfly, I had a couple of great gigs in the Barfly in Clyde Street. And then after that, when I started taking it a bit more seriously, I was a bit older, when we started Mechanical Smile, we started playing kind of like venues in Glasgow, King Tut's, and played there a few times. We headlined a few times, and we just got a lot more exposure in terms of the different venues we're playing. We started touring, so a lot of fun memories going back to the early days as well.
But with I was just going to ask you, Murray, with Mechanical Smile going into Twin Heart, what was the dynamic that made you change name, and kind of was that personnel change at that time?
It was a lot of stuff was happening. We'd signed a wee management deal, and we'd been promised quite a bit of what was going to happen in the future, and we changed guitar player for the third time in a short space of time, and that was about 2013. And then we started recording an album, and then things didn't work out. The finances we were promised didn't quite take off, so we were kind of stuck with the means we had, and we booked a big UK tour over in Germany, and we came back for that tour in March 2014, and it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but we hadn't really hit the heights we hoped we would have hit, and that was off the back of a couple of really successful years. And our bass player Nicola was moving to Australia, and then Callum, who was playing guitar, was just saying that I've loved every minute of this, but I can't put every spare minute every day into this band just now. So he was kind of going away, and me and Don just thought, you know what, we're just dragging it on and on. Let's just take a break and start again and try something a bit different. We've kind of hit the brick wall, we're not getting over it. Let's just reassess ourselves. So we decided to cut with Twin Heart, go for a 4-piece to a 3-piece, keep things a bit more simpler, a bit more energetic, a bit more emo orientated, and that's when we started Twin Heart. And the young guy at the time, Owen, had been filling in bass with Mechanical Smile. He seemed a perfect fit at the time. He was a lot younger than us, but he was absolutely great in the band. And then we just started off again from scratch, and arguably a better band in my opinion than we were in Mechanical Smile.
the songwriting process, how does that work? Does somebody come into the studio with a rough demo, or how do you write a song?
Well, for the bands I played in with Dawn, she was the main songwriter. I think she's a genius lyrically, and she's got a really knack for writing alternative music. And she'll be the first to say she hates folk calling her a guitarist, because she doesn't see herself as a guitarist. She sees herself as a songwriter more than a guitarist, but she can obviously play as well. And she would always come in with ideas, and they would always be like, say, 60 to 70% complete, and she would have the backbone of her song, and then she would always let me hear it first, because we were together, living together and stuff like that. So, and straight away, my kind of producer hat was always on, and the wee cogs would be going in my brain, and we'd maybe like suggest like tweaks here and there, melody tweaks, structure tweaks, arrangement tweaks, whatever. And then we'd normally go to the studio and have a wee quick jam ourselves. At the time, my old bedroom in my mum's house was the studio for years. That was such a luxury having everything set up there. And the back end of a big house, not attached to any other houses, so we just jammed in there. So we could go there anytime we wanted, and we played through some stuff. And once we had what we felt was an almost complete song, then we would take it to the rest of the band. So, and then they would add their parts, and again, we'd go through that, maybe tweaking some stuff in that.
Well, what's your favourite Kilmarnock venues?
Favourite Kilmarnock venue? I loved playing in Dirty Martinis. I loved it. I remember one of the first gigs I ever booked myself was in Dirty Martinis. It was an all ages gig, and it was targeting all the wee kind of the emo kids about Killie and that, and we were trying to raise some money to hire a van to go down and play a festival in Kent, and I remember it was just chaos, and we played a few times. You had booked us in there for one of our first gigs actually, and but I was just jumping. I must have been about 60 folk crammed in that wee room, just jumping about, going absolutely crazy. I loved playing in there, and I liked it better. There was a stage in for a while, remember that?
That's right, the stage was good, yeah.
I must admit I preferred it when it wasn't there. It just felt more in your face. And then, of course, I had a big soft spot for Fanny Big Ashley. That was my local growing up, and I started booking gigs in there when Laurie seen I was booking gigs from the boot. He'd said, "Do you want to get involved?" And that was great. The pleasure I took in putting gigs on in there, and then playing in there. Like for example, Laurie sponsored one of our tours to Germany, played for our flights over and all that. And what we did in return for him was we just did a free entry gig on a Sunday, the last night of the tours. I think that was the 19th date we played, and we come back and it was just a Sunday, and it was just, and folk turned out, and it was great. It felt like a really good homecoming kind of thing. And when he was leaving the pub, we did a one-off gig, a wee reunion gig. We played in there. So I love playing in Fanny's. And in terms of Kilmarnock, I've mentioned Dirty Martinis. I liked the Monkey Club back in the day. That's the restaurant there, isn't it?
That's right.
Chinese restaurant.
The Dragon is now.
The Dragon, yeah. That was good in there. And Belfield Tavern, back in the very early days, when it was through the back room.
Through the lounge.
Yeah, I played. That was one of my first gigs in there. But other than that, I feel we had Baker's that became the Tartan Sweet for a while. It was always good. I put lots of gigs on in there, as well as played a few. But I just feel like Kilmarnock just lacked that venue since like for so many years. There's even Ayrshire in general. There's not a venue to rock up to. It's clubs and spaces and venues and pubs. There's no an actual designated music venue.
Unfortunately, that's a general consensus from everyone we've been talking to, Murray, and it's apparent to see that there just isn't.
I know.
You know, Baker's at the moment, the guys are trying to put bands on in there, and the caddies putting bands on, but that's it.
Yeah, you're £300 or £400 to hire a decent rig in before you even start. You can go to Glasgow and hire a venue for £150, £200. So it's hard. I've been using the gigs I've been doing at college. I've been using a venue in there because it's on my doorstep when I'm teaching down there, and they're great, but they're starting to like they're requiring a fee to keep themselves going. They've been giving the college the venue for free, and they're not making much money at the bar, so they're running a loss, helping us out. And that's at venue 38, which is now changed over to Notion. And they're all nightclubs. Both of those venues are massive. They're great, but they're no great, if you know what I mean. They're far too big for a small local gig.
Well, I saw a band in there. It was a kind of goth tribute band. We went down to see them in venue 38, and it was 150 folk in. It was busy enough, but it didn't look busy because of the size of the venue.
So it's an old nightclub. You've got what was that, Madison's
Club
de Mars is what Notion is now, and that's just But no, venue wise, Bertie's was great when I was growing up. I played a few times with my very first band I was in, but used to love going out the weekend, Burlington Betty's. But Dirty Martinis was probably my favourite venue.
How did Rip It Up come about, and do you enjoy promoting, and is Kilmarnock a good place to promote?
Well, when I was at uni, 2010, I was doing my third year commercial music degree, and my project was I chose to sort of develop a promotion company, and I called it Audio Ayrshire at the time, and I put on a gig in Kilmarnock at the Monkey Club, and then I put that one that I mentioned earlier, the Dirty Martinis, on under that name, and I started kind of managing a wee band at the time, helping them out, and then I was getting my own band, Mechanical Smile, were looking for gigs. I ended up doing some gig swaps with bands for England, and I'd bring a band up to Glasgow, Kilmarnock, and then they'd maybe get us down to Leeds and Manchester or something like that, and then I was like, with Mechanical Smile at the time, we got asked by the council to play a gig at the Grand Hall, and it was in the Pillared Room, the smaller room, and it was a wee youth club that were, a youth initiative, a youth club that were organising it through the council, and we just said, aye, we'll play that. They were paying us quite well, like, for what we were doing. We turned up, and they asked us to do a wee workshop with some of the kids, and it was like a wee, here's how to sound check, here's how you write a song, and just show them some sort of, I suppose, some professional outlet for the young bands that were playing. It was a wee battle of the bands, and we were to be the judges and all that. And then I remember just turning up, and it was like 300 Waynes for Kilmarnock, under 18, obsessed with like alternative rock music in this wee venue. And all the pals bands were playing their hearts out, doing all like Metallica covers and some of the more modern metal band covers and all that. And I was just like, I remember just having a conversation to Nick, my bass player at the time. I was like, why are we not playing in front of these kids more often? A, they're having the time of their life. B, that's our target audience in there, and they don't even know who we are, and we haven't even played yet. So we played that gig, and that was me straight off the bat. I was like, we need to do something. We need to get this a wee scene in this town going, and that's where the kind of buzzword "Rip It Up" came from. It's like, oh yeah, I'll rip it up. Ben ripped it up, man. It's like, so we just decided to like start Rip It Up, and we've tried to get a venue for ages, and I was emailing and Facebooking venues in Kilmarnock. Can you put an unders gig on? And no chance. The last time we had that, it was folk fighting and spewing and blah blah. Ended up in the hunting lodge. I absolutely no bother at all. And they were the only one to let us have the bar and wristband 18-year-olds, over 18s, and have unders in. So we just said, I just took the PA from my mod's house, the rehearsal room, and I had no idea what I was doing, putting a gig on it really at that time, doing the sound anyway, but we made it work, and there was 300 folk through the door that first night we did. And then we made it a kind of a monthly thing, and for a wee while, and then that's when what do you call it? I remember it was Ross Dunn, who's still alive now. He was at Irvine Herald at the time. Asked me to do an interview with the paper, and it was talking about how people from the outside could see there was a wee community going, and I didn't even think about that. And then before I knew it, I was booking gigs for 40 folk in Stuart and Arms up the stairs for Stuart and Arms. We booking touring bands for England that were like and getting featured in the Rock Show and Kerrang magazine and all that. And so I just sort of merged the two, Audio Ayrshire and Rip It Up. And by that time I was managing, I took on like Losing Ground, and I had Megalomati, I was managing them at the time. And that was just me right into it. I was playing in bands, I started teaching at that point, and I was just sort of mentoring, just trying my best to create a scene, and booked tons of gigs over the years with Rip It Up. And it became my baby. I just sort of, and it became a booking agent. I was hiring out backline. I was putting gigs on in fannies for. I would never touch the cover bands. I was never into booking cover bands, but I love booking up and coming touring bands. And it's like you look at two of the bands I booked that were really good level at the time, 2015-16, Preston Eco and Akoda, and one of them, a boy for each of those bands is now in Unpeople that are literally toured last summer in Metallica across Europe and all that. They're getting massive, and that's just, they were playing in fannies and Stuart Arms 10 years ago, and I love that kind of vibe. But at the time I felt there was a real scene for that alternative heavier music, and that was when I'd been volunteering at the Dirty Weekender for years, helping out with the stage and all that, and then that was when, again, Stumpy's like, I think you should put a stage on, so for 2 years I ran the Rip It Up stage at the Dirty Weekender, and Hunt Lodge one
Your
year.
Madeline played her first ever
That's
gig.
right, aye.
Sunday,
Sunday,
and it was a Sunday, aye. And you even booked the Wetty Grippers a couple of times.
I did, aye. And one of those.
And we played at your wedding.
That's true, absolutely.
And you paid us in drink.
Pages in a bottle of vodka.
Foolish man.
But what I remember one of the gigs you did play for me was one of those examples of that we gig
Sunday night.
It was one in audio. It was Eva.
Of course, that was
It was a
great.
band Finland for Derby.
That's right.
Eva Plays Dead or something like that.
That's
I
right.
booked them up, and Matt was a good pal of mine. We'd met through social media at the time, and folk had recommended that I get in touch with him about getting a gig. So he got us in Derby, and I got him up in Glasgow, and that was part of the deal.
It was a good night.
I loved doing that, aye. But I felt like I made a wee scene in Kilmarnock for at least a couple of years, and then I kept it going. And from that younger crowd, as they got a bit older, they were all in their own bands. And then by the time that I was booking gigs in Fanny's. I was booking a touring band on a Monday night, and there was 80 folk in drinking on a Monday night in Fanny's. I was booking bands for America and New Zealand and all that were touring the UK, and I was getting spammed by emails with promoters, agents left, right, and centre, wanting me to book shows and that. So I did feel for a wee moment I was doing a lot, and then I slowed down when there was obviously COVID, and then after COVID, me and my wife had the baby, so that's pretty much stopped everything. I think I've done a handful of gigs since through the college and through my own rip it up, but it's slowing down. But yeah, I felt like it was good to book gigs in Kilmarnock. I could drive folk to turn up. That was the main thing. Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and a pub gig, folk would come. Ticketed gig at a weekend, folk would come. Booked for the Red in Kilmarnock. That was one of the bigger bands about. They were a big name in Glasgow and UK. Signed to a good label, second album tour, and I had them in Bakers. Well, that was a good night.
You're now a lecturer in music. Is that a dream job for you?
It is, aye.
Tell us a wee bit about that.
Aye, so it's quite surreal. I kind of, in my head when I was younger, when I was at college, I thought like these lecturer guys that were standing in front of you teaching you, just like knew everything. They were inspiring to me. But then when I became a lecturer, I realised they were always winging it. Do you know what I mean? But because that's what I'm doing still. No, but no, I've been doing that. It's crazy. I've been doing that 11 years now, nearly 11 years, and I fell into that through a bit of luck, a lot of hard work, but a bit of luck. And I suppose that's the way the industry goes, isn't it? You work hard, you can reap your rewards. And so I'd applied for my first proper job after being on tour playing in bands. Me and Donna did that big 2014 tour, 19 dates, Scotland, England, Wales, all at Germany, back. And then at the time I was working cash to hand jobs, signing on. I was doing everything and then to play in a band. That was tunnel vision. Playing in a band, we're trying to make it at that time. And we did all the festivals, we worked with Red Bull, with all that stuff, and we were like really pushing for it. And so then the job centre put us in the Planet Standard, the record was sitting there. Like, can you explain this? And they literally put us in, and I just busted laughing. I was like, do you think we're actually making any money doing these gigs? So, so basically I had to get, that was almost game over. I had to get a job, so I ended up getting a job in the marketing department at the college. And I was thinking to myself, I could do that. I'm running multiple social media pages, I'm booking events all the time. Fuck it, I'll go for it. So I went and had an interview, and I think they thought they liked this idea of a big guy with a beard that was a bit more creative than your typical sort of shirt and tie guy or whatever. So I was in the door at the college, and my contract was only covering somebody's maternity leave. Then the teaching job came up internal, so it didn't even go external, and it was only for 2 hours a week. It was just bank staff for 2 hours a week. I did my interview, and it was the guy that was interviewing me used to teach me. So they knew me. He had pulled us in, and we did wee workshops previous year. And then very funny, I was working in the college. So I went, in that 2 hours, somebody went off in the long term set up, turned into like nearly full time. And then I reapplied the next year. And then 4 years later, hard work to get to that, to keep in the door. But 4 years after that, I've got a permanent full-time job. So, and I've not looked back since. And I do love it. It is a dream job because I can never teach in a school. I'm just not cut out for that. I'm too rough in the edges for a school. But that kind of general age group of like 16 to early 20s, obviously with the exception, you get some older students, mature students every year, but that's your bulk kind of target audience. And I just love it. I can have the banner. I feel like I can inspire folk. I feel like I can motivate folk and get the best out of folk at that level and that age group, and prepare them for uni or help them out if they're in bands on the way or whatever. And it's really rewarding. And I run a wee record label with my students every year. That's 8 years we've been doing that now, and pop to rock to psych rock to dance to house music. We put anything that comes our way that we feel we could help them on their way, we do. So we had a pop single like this year. It's a great track from a young lassie called Killie. And last year with a singer-songwriter guy with kind of Sam Fender kind of vibe going on, and put his single out in EP, and we've had all the support with BBC introducing in Scotland and getting plays on the radio and stuff like that. And
You've had a wee bit of success in that
yeah,
previously.
It's been good. I think every release we've put out has had some sort of national radio play, which has been great. And then some's had like UK-wide press, and like the boys, the Air band, Mannequin, we put that was a great double A single. That
That's one I remember actually.
big feature on Clash magazine. That was great. That was a good moment. And then it's been great, and it's been really rewarding seeing folk like that don't. The whole ethos of the label is to support grassroots music in Ayrshire. It's not always student-related bands. It's just any fair, so it's not as if we're just looking for. It has to be students. A lot of folk get misled by that and think it's all just students we put it, but no. We like just try to, and we get inundated with emails every year, and we try and put these showcase gigs on, and that brings some money in to then help with the funding next release every year. So it kind of sustains itself. And we're putting on open mic nights to try and get a bit of extra capital in as well. But
How jealous are we guys, eh? Yeah.
We ask everybody this question, but you're the perfect man to ask.
right.
What advice have you got for young musicians
I think
starting out?
I think it depends on the individual. I think like if I could say loads of things now that would never seem generic, like just work hard and don't piss off your peers and be polite to the sound guy and write a good tune. But it depends on what they're doing. A lot of the bands I see now gigging round about at the kind of younger promotion companies in Glasgow, they're all doing a mix of covers and originals, whereas back in my day you wouldn't get a gig unless you're doing a full original set. So that's something I kind of always push my students to write their own music, and if they're not writing good songs, you're only going to get better the more you do it, and the more you write, then you can. So I think I'm an advocate for that. I want folk to be creative. So that would be the advice: is keep writing songs, keep developing yourself as a sound player, but having a good image, having a good sound, just not being a dickhead. I think, I don't know about you guys, but like when I was growing up in bands, there was always cliques, and it did my nothing, and I hated it. I didn't want to be part of any of it. But then I feel like if I was part of it, maybe we would have got extra this or extra that, and I feel like it still goes on. And I just wish there was, more clarity and more honesty in the scene. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. And I always say that advice is just be true to yourself and do what you think you believe in. And I think young bands need to have that ambition. I speak about it a lot with my colleagues and some of my mates. Like when I was 17, 18, I was main stage team apart. I'm going to touring biggest band in the world. And I think if you realistically that doesn't happen very often, as you know, right? So if I was to say to a young musician starting out, channel that, let's be realistic here. You're going to dent their confidence, you're going to dent their ambition. It takes time of development to understand that might not happen, but you need to dream that. You need to have that.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
And then once you start, see, you're in a bit of young band, you're starting out, and that's your vision. I want to play Murrayfield. I want to be playing touring the world with like the Libertines or like whatever. I want to be doing that. And then as you start on that journey, you're going to realise that the goalposts are going to be. Wait a minute, if we can play a couple of support slots at King Tut's, we'll be headlining next time. And then once you do that, you start changing the goalposts. But I think it's important to have that passion and drive.
And when you hear folk talking, kind of that have made it kind of in the music business, and they say, "Ken, what was your favourite time with the band?" They say when we was playing pubs and clubs and travelling up and down the motorway in the back of a transit van. That's the happiest times because they're looking ahead to what could possibly be, but at the same time they don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of.
It's good for them to look back at it when they've made it.
When you're fighting to get there.
Yeah.
Because once you get there, there's a lot of falseness about it. Ken, once you get to the kind of.
And then the business kicks
point,
in, the money kicks in.
Yeah.
What else? What has been your musical highlight
Music,
in all the bands you've played in?
musical highlight.
Meeting your wife, surely.
I met my wife at the college in the room of teaching, which is quite ironic, and we started the band pretty much not long after that. But I mean, I can't deny playing in 2012. We were in that Red Bull sort of thing, and we get picked for the festivals. Like eight bands out of about 500 UK bands, and we were the only Scottish band involved UK wide, and we played Downlands Festival, Slam Dunk Festival in Leeds, and that was undeniably probably still a highlight of just being involved with such a big festival like that, and get treated like royalty. We get given two guitars for free. We get flown down to London for media training. I turned up and looking as two Gibson Les Paul Juniors just to take away with us. Just like we get media training done. And you notice here before
Was that quite hard,
well, that was my very
Can't
12.
Smile.
That was 2012, and that was we're just off the back of winning the Fanny McGassley Battle of the Bands as well. so well, that was a good period, and then I think because I was booking my gigs and basically managing my band, when we got these things, I felt like, I don't know, like more happy than I would have if I was just playing the band, because I was actually doing all the groundwork myself for all the years, like as the manager, and but that's a highlight. And then another highlight would be when I was like working the band, the kind of prog metal band Megalomatic, when I got them signed to the label, a label down in London that I quite well respected. I pitched a few labels. I got them signed, and they did an EP with them, and that was good. Just having that involvement with somebody that was running. They went through a label in London, Kudos for distribution, so it was really cool dealing with all that. And then I suppose one other final one was I remember phoning you about it when I got Colin Hay involved in my charity album during lockdown. I reached out to
Men at Work.
Yeah, reached out to Colin Hay's management for wee record label at college, Some Turtle Records. We were doing our lockdown sessions, just home recordings, and 6 weeks later his lawyer got in touch with me saying he was interested in it. So basically we get Colin Hay to record a song for California, send it over to put in my compilation. But that was cool, just dealing with like it was Andrew Booth from Sony Publishing. He's the top dog, and he's the one in the emails with me and all that, and just clearing all the rights for it and getting the MCPS license and all that and stuff like that. That was pretty cool, because I'm teaching music, I've been involved in music, but that was a level I've never entered before. So that was good fun. Right.
Murray, what are you up to now, and what does the future hold?
Well, at the moment I'm playing in a kind of relatively new band, and when me and Don started Dream Kids, we'll go back a wee bit to explain the progress. I suppose we decided to do a two-piece, and so I took control of recording and writing the bass parts, and I just sort of always liked playing about my bass in the house with some pedals and stuff like that, just for fun. I'm never very good at it, still not very good at it, but I just found this new love for playing bass. So when we stopped Dream Kids, when we had the baby, I had this kind of itch to scratch, and I thought, I'm getting old, I want to play bass in a band before I die. And it just so happened that Kyle, my pal Kyle, who's a lot younger than me, who played in Twin Heart for a while on the bass, was writing some guitar stuff and some Midwest kind of emo guitar licks, and he was sending them back and forward, and I says we should start something, and then we did. So we got a singer on board, Christopher Williams, who's a big Killie fan as well, and so me, Kyle and Chris, Kyle had about 3-4 demos. He's a wizard in Pro Tools and recording and mixing, Kyle. So he had all these demos with programmed drums and back and forward, and we had started having some jams. We got a drummer on board, Asier from Bilbao, who lives in Glasgow. We found him on Facebook looking for a band, and he's like cross between a Dave Grohl and a Orlando Bloom. Aye, if I wasn't married, I tell you the new. No,
You don't want that in film.
He's a good look. I don't mind. He's a good looking boy. But anyway, he's a great drummer as well. So yeah, we started and we come up with the name Landscapes and Landslides, and we call ourselves Midwest brackets Coast of Scotland emo, because taking influences from Midwest emo from like your kind of Seattle and stuff like that, and bringing it into sort of our own sort of spin off of it. Landscapes and Landslides. The name, I come up with a name based on, you're looking at Kilmarnock, Ayrshire, Scotland, beautiful scenery, That's like the landscapes, and the landslides is, I suppose, all the shite with the government, all the cost of living crisis. So that's where the name came from. It kind of represents where we're at in society, I suppose, living in Scotland. So I quite like that kind of name, landscapes and landslides. And yeah, we've played a few gigs. We've put a couple of EPs out. It's been great fun playing bass. I've got an addiction to pedals, effects pedals as well now, which isn't great for the bank balance, but I absolutely love it. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Do some vocals as well.
Oh, I still do. See, I always did backing vocals with all the bands I played in, and I'm probably doing more vocals now than I did in any of the bands previously. I'm doing, like, for example, like a wee couple of songs I do the chorus, and then, but most of the time it's just sort of crossover vocals, or I still like, I love a wee shout. I'm not gonna lie, I love a wee shout. So I do some harmony parts and some shout. Chris is an exceptional vocalist. My singer Chris, he's brilliant, and it's effortless to him. Whereas, and so he's a great guitar player as well. So I find that I'm still so new to the bass that I'm thinking more about what I'm playing and more about what I'm singing, if you know what I mean. And I find it really challenging. I could play drums and sing all day, play different grooves, sing offbeat, but see, try to play bass and sing, I find it challenging, but I'm improving. And aye, we've got a gig.
Practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And aye, we've got, so I love playing bass, and even more so much now with this new band, I've even launched my solo career.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
So basically, I just sit. I've called my solo project Sleeping Meadow, because I picked up the bass when Violet was sleeping, and my daughter Violet, and that's her middle name's Meadow. So I would always practice when she was sleeping, and that's where the name came from. And so I would just start setting the headphones on, and I just started recording some wee demos and sort of ambient, sort of post rock, loads of reverb on the bass and it's just all bass. And I programmed some drums, and I put the octave pedal in to get the bass sounding like a guitar and all that. I just did this version of everything bass orientated, and
I actually heard about it last night. You put it in.
Yeah, I put it out yesterday, aye, and it's good fun. But the band's great. We're all working full time. They're a lot younger than me. I think I see us birthdays a day, 28 a day. The rest of them are 27, 28, and they're a lot younger than me. And but it's great for me. I didn't want to give up playing music when we had the baby and Dream Kids was going, and I kind of stopped for a while. I just wanted to get straight back into it, and it's been a new breath of fresh air to me. And we're no touring, we're no chasing dreams, we're just having fun, just playing some gigs, and I think that's fundamental, just to have some fun. So we've only played 4 or 5 gigs, and we've got a couple lined up. We're doing audio next Friday, whenever this is out. I don't know when. It will not be next Friday when this is out. We're playing audio in June, and then we're playing Sleazy's supporting one of my favourite local bands, This Familiar Smile, in September. Mind them?
Aye, yeah.
I absolutely love them. They're still going. They're arguably, in my opinion, the best band to come out of Ayrshire. And that's saying a lot when you've got Biffy and Father Son and that in the same, and the trash cans and that in the same bit. Well, of course, right. But This Familiar Smile have been an incredible band for Kilmarnock, and yeah, we're playing with them, so that'll be great.
And I would advise anybody watching this to check out some of your videos on YouTube from Dream Kids and
Twin Heart.
Mechanical
Dream.
Smile.
Well, where did I get Dream Kids from?
That's
A Mechanical Smile, because I watched some of the videos, they're fantastic. Murray, it's been an absolute pleasure. A fellow Arsenal fan.
Yep.
Thank you
very much.
Cheers, big man.
Nice
Thanks for
one.
coming.
Pleasure,
Really
guys.
appreciate it.